guys, welcome back to our multicolor Crimson Vow set review. We're going to be starting the first card with the Ancient Lumberknot. It is a 4-mana 1/4 tree folk. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Okay, so we've seen this like high alert deck, right? This was a thing.
Yeah, then obviously in that case it was blue-white, and lately black-green has seemed to be more of like a graveyard-centered deck. So it's interesting that they brought back this sort of Doran-type toughness matters mechanic.
This goes really well with that black creature we saw, the 2 that transforms into like the 2/6 and like shoots people for butts. So like if you have the butt deck, there's a lot of synergy here.
Yeah, and all of a sudden that 113 becomes a little interesting.
Right? If you get 2 of these plus like a butt launcher. That's what we're going to call that card. I've decided just now.
Butt launcher.
These are fun.
Yeah. Definitely a build around. But I think black-green is going to get some of these type creatures naturally. So not a complicated build around.
Yeah, I think the black had a lot of the butt-heavy creatures, and then green just has a lot of big creatures. So it doesn't really matter if the butt is bigger, just because the butt is 6 power anyway, or 6 toughness, you know, so it's fine. What do we like in this as far as a score?
Given that it's gold and you're only playing it in that deck, I think it's like a 3. But it's going to be a very, very variant card based on the other.
So I like this card a little bit. I agree. I think it's like a 2/5 or a 3.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a bit lower in the average deck, actually. So I'm going to say 2/5.
Sure.
Bit of a build around. But the thing I like about this card that we don't see on this type of mechanic is it normally just makes creatures deal damage equal to their butt. So you get punished if you have any creatures that are normal, 3/2s or whatever. So this is less of a build around in that it gives you a bonus for creatures that it's relevant for and doesn't punish you for creatures that it isn't, which I think is pretty unique in this type of mechanic.
Yeah, and I guess to be fair, you're effectively getting a 4/4 for 4, not really 1/4.
Yes.
There are some exceptions, right? Like fight spells don't do that because it's combat damage, but yeah, that's true. I did not consider that it restricted it to the ones who wanted it to help.
I'm also going to give it a bump to a 3, which was your score, because again, I wasn't even really thinking of it as a 4/4 for 4, but it is.
Yeah.
Like I knew that in my head, but I was still thinking of it as a 1/4. Yeah, so it's not punishing at all like this mechanic typically is, and I love that. All right, let's go ahead and move on. I'll let you take this one.
Anja, Maid of Dishonor, 2 black-red for a 4/5 legendary vampire. Whenever this or one or more other vampires enter the battlefield under your control, create a blood token. This ability triggers only once each turn. And you can pay 2 and sacrifice another creature or a blood token. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life.
Wow. So this is great.
Yes. So it's a 4/5 that automatic for 4 that gives you a blood when it comes into play automatically. So
Yes.
You're already getting that. And then every other vampire gives you a blood token once per turn.
Yes, and then the blood token becomes an alternate use of draining,
Yeah.
and it's not a tap ability. Plus, its body is just above rate to begin with. It's a relevant creature type on its own. I love this card. It's not super impactful the turn it comes in. 1 blood token is nice, but like if they just untap and kill this, you feel kind of bad. But it's super early and aggressive, and it's going to be a huge beater. I like this at a 4/5.
Agreed. Every vampire you play after this gives you 2 things to sacrifice too, because you can sacrifice creatures as well as blood tokens.
Definitely, and then you can easily drain people out. Just whoop. All right, Blood Tithe Harvester. We have a 3/2 for 2 mana. Bit difficult to cast, but it is a vampire. When it enters a battlefield, create a blood token. You can tap, sacrifice this. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is twice the number of blood tokens you control. Activate as a sorcery. I love this card too. Holy smokes, these vampires are awesome.
Yeah, you're basically getting a split card, right? A 3/2 that creates a blood for 2, or a 2 mana, -2/2 or better effect at sorcery speed. I mean, slow, but Both of those are good.
And then it gives you some late game card advantage by being able to cycle or do whatever or drain. Now, think like this is super synergistic with the last card in that you'll make 2 blood tokens, and then you get to even go -4. Now I know it's a rare, but like that's not going to be a difficult interaction to find, and it's really cool to see these bloods actually having some more relevant things other than just the rummage effect.
Yeah, I mean, quite clearly, right? This is your signpost uncommon for black red. It's vampire and blood, exactly what you would have thought it would be. But good to have that confirmed by the signpost.
Definitely. This is strong. I like this a lot for a signpost. It's cheap. Granted, hard to cast, but like casting a 3/2 on 2 is great. Gives you a bonus on the board and a removal spell built in. Feels like a 3/5 to me.
I have it as 3/5 as well. I like signpost cards that you can just play on their own.
Yeah.
Right? On its own, it's a 3/2. It gives you a blood token. That's fine.
All right. I'll let you take this one.
Next up, we have our first transform card in multicolor, Brine Comer. It's a 1/1 spirit for 1 white and a blue. Whenever this enters the battlefield or becomes the target of an aura, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. And it has Disturb for white-blue. And on the back, it's an aura, Brine-bound gift. Whenever it enters the battlefield or enchanted creature becomes the target of an aura spell, create a 1/1 white spirit token flying. So the same ability. I like this card. You get 3 mana for 2 bodies, right? A 1/1 flyer and a 1/1.
Yes.
Plus the disturb value. It's not game breaking, but it's a solid card.
I feel like you have to have a fair amount of things to target for me to want to run this. Now, I will say a spirit synergy would make me run in this, even if I don't have things to target it. But without either of those, I'm not super happy. I know, like, a 2/2 for 3 mana is kind of rough, but there's a good chance that this back end is just kind of meh. But when this enters the battlefield, I guess you do get the extra 1/1, so it's kind of a 3 power, 3 toughness for 3 mana. I guess that's, well, actually for 5 mana.
5 mana.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a great enabler for all of your synergies, whether that's the targeting synergy or the spirit synergy, because it's going to give you so many of those things. But if it's got no synergy, I think this is a cut for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're likely to have some just because you're only playing this in Azorius. That's the Disturb deck.
Yeah.
And obviously all the back halves of Disturb cards are auras in this set, so yeah, not spectacular, but a decent card.
Yeah, this is just one of the cases where this is a good card in the deck that it's built for, but it isn't just a good generic card.
Correct.
Yeah, so like in a vacuum, it's really not doing a ton. But I mean, the stats are fine with a couple of pump spells or some sort of Spirit Lord or something. We're pretty happy. What do you like this rating-wise?
This is like a 2/5. It's kind of on the low end of that, but still I think a little bit better than filler.
I like it at a 2/5 with the note that this is going to be an amazing enabler if you've got the deck, which if we learned anything from the last format when it came to that Azorius Spirits Disturb deck is, man, oh man, can they go off, and do they have a ton of synergy that lets you get a ton of this kind of stuff going? Then we feel amazing. This has a huge upside, but I like it at a 2/5. All right, the next card is a Child of the Pack, 4 mana, 2/5. For 4 mana, you can create a wolf, and it's got Daybound, and it turns into a 4 mana trampling 5/5. Other creatures you control get +1/+0, not even wolves. Oh. Is it like a little girl in a pretty red dress and then turns into, it's like Little Red Riding Hood, kind of?
Little Red Riding Hood, kind of, yeah.
But instead of getting eaten by the wolf, turns into Princess Mononoke and just like hulks out. Oh, baby. This is a spicy card for an uncommon. Let me tell you, it's got a great late game mana sink that lets you go wide. It's got okay stats on the front. On the back half, you're getting insane stats with a Lord ability. For an uncommon, this is a home run, right?
Yeah, this card's fantastic. Stats are marginally unimpressive on the front side, but okay, like you said. And mana sink's great. Lord ability's great. Has trample, so at least the 5/5 will help to get through. Yeah, I love this card.
Okay, so hear me out. This is going to sound weird. Normally, I would not rate something as highly, but hear me out. The front side, so stats, right? Little unimpressive, but it's a relevant creature type. It's got a mana sink that if left undealt with can win the game by going wide. It's, and it makes those relevant creature types. The backside is a huge beater that can win the game with a Lord ability. That sounds like the very definition of a 4/5.
It does. What makes me hesitant on that was, and I'm trying to get these at a bit, was Hound Tamer from the last set.
Yes, I agree.
Which is kind of similar.
This seems better than Hound Tamer, but I agree Hound Tamer was too slow. But that might be the case here too, where this 4 mana is just too slow. But a 2/2 wolf seems a lot better than a +1/+1 counter.
Yeah, it is. It's also a little bit awkward that you cannot have the activation on the backside, because if you want to activate, you almost kind of have to do it at sorcery speed, because you're unlikely to be able to play something and have 4 mana open. And if you don't play something, you're going to flip.
Yeah. But the backside seems like the payoff, right? So you're like sitting back doing the thing. Flavor-wise, I get it. Maybe we should just give it a 4 just because it's probably a bit too slow.
Yeah, I like it as a 4.
I think this is one of the best uncommons we've seen in several sets. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. Dorothea Vengeful Victim. It's a 4/4 for 2 mana with flying. It's a spirit. When it attacks or blocks, sacrifice it at the end of combat with disturbed, and then it comes back. Whenever this attacks, create a 4/4 angel token with flying, tapped and attacking. Sacrifice the token at the end of combat. So it's kind of a build your own Geist of Saint Draft.
Exactly. Yep.
So for 2 mana, you're going to get in 1 big beat, and then for 3 more mana, if you could put it onto an evasive creature, you get an additional angel each turn that goes away. So you just get like 1 more beat forever. So for the low price of 5 mana, you essentially get, assuming your creature does not get removed, you get a 4/4 forever. Like, you know what I mean? You just keep making a new one.
Yeah, we had this exact back half of the card from Shadows over Innistrad, where they had Invocation of Saint Traft, which was a 3 mana aura that did exactly this. And that card ended up being pretty bad, if I remember right. But that's because also it was just an aura. This, you've got a little bit of value on the front side. You can get a trade in, or at least deal 4 damage.
Yeah, it doesn't really help your creature get in or do anything. And there's going to be a lot of times where you're just like blocked. Or you play this, you hit them for 4, then you play it onto another creature, they remove your creature, and then you're just not going to get any value. This seems really low impact for a rare. However, it will win a game if you just put it on a 2/2 flyer and they just don't have an answer.
Yeah, the other nice thing is blue-white is going to want something to block early, and just putting down a 4/4 is going to slow down those aggro decks and force them to throw something into it just to keep getting through.
Definitely. What do you like this score-wise?
Kind of like this as like a 3.
Yeah, I put it at like a 3 or a 3/5. I was maybe giving it just a little bit of bonus credit because blue-white has a lot of flyers. However, I will say all the spirits don't fly in this set compared to the last one, so maybe that's just not true anymore.
Yeah, you are in the deck that is more likely to have some aura synergies as well.
Yeah.
So that could be some bonus or some spirit synergies. But yeah, I like it in that, around a 3.
Okay. I think I might spec on it just a little higher, just because, again, I think those synergies are there, but I think we're in the same ballpark. Edgar, Charmed Groom. We have a 4 mana Vampire Noble. That's a 4/4. Other vampires you control get +1/+1, and when Edgar Vampire Groom dies, return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control, and it turns into Edgar Markov's Coffin, which is a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white and black vampire creature token with lifelink and put a blood counter on Edgar Markov's Coffin. If there are 3 or more counters on the coffin, remove those and transform it back to Edgar Markov. Flavor-wise, it's really sweet, right? He like gets beaten down and he goes and takes a rest, poops out some more dudes, and then comes back as the Lord, which any vampire Lord should do. Very flavorful. I do want to say real quick, guys, I don't know if you haven't done it, but if you pre-order your Crimson Vow, you actually get a NerdGirl vampire token. You should totally go do that. It's amazing. Hammy's on it. So MNG5 with cool stuff, and you can play this card and play NerdGirls on the battlefield. I love this card. What do you think, Gigs?
Yeah, this card's great. You need some sort of exile effect or the ability to destroy an artifact to get rid of this thing for good. Great stats on the front end. Vampire Lord in black-white is a little weird since black-red is the vampire deck in this format, but it obviously feeds itself on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, classically, we have had some white vampires in the last vampire set, so it's not terribly surprising. And also, like, I think that, you know, you're right, black-red is the main vampire set, and if we were to shove the Lord in there too, it might just be too powerful. So this will force decks to kind of have to splash and kind of destabilize their deck and get their big payoff a little bit more tough. So I think this is probably good for balancing purposes.
Yeah, I think it probably also just makes sense a bit on the story side, right? Olivia and Edgar are the people getting married, and Olivia's always been black-red, so you probably didn't want to have both of them be identical.
Yes. So I like this. It also makes for like a really good 3-color type vampire deck for like EDH and stuff, which is going to be really fun and for constructed. I like this card a ton. It's a 4/4 for 4 with a Lord ability, and it's really hard to kill. It comes back, it does things, it needs to be exiled, and it poops out more dudes. What are you thinking score-wise?
I think I've got this as a 4/5 just because of how difficult it is to deal with permanently.
Yeah, so unlike most of our 4/5s, they need to have some sort of lasting effect on the board because if they're answered, they, don't do anything. However, most of the answers in the format don't answer this. It temporarily answers it, so that kind of counts as a lasting effect, right?
Yeah, it just comes back.
Yeah. All right, I like it. Moving on. Eruth, the Prophet? The Tormented Prophet. We've got a 2/4 for 3 mana. It's a legendary human wizard. If you would draw a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library instead. You may play those cards this turn. I like it. This is a great mechanic and draw engine for those spells decks that want to be doing a bunch of stuff. And it's got good stats. 3 mana for a 2/3 is on point, and you just get to draw a bunch. It does say play, so you can get lands too.
And it's not like if you draw a second card this turn, it applies on your draw step. So just drawing a card every turn, you get draw 2. With obviously a little bit inside of not being able to necessarily play. But,
this is going to overwhelm the board and kick butt. Do you like this at a 4?
Yes, I do. Debating if I actually want to put it higher just because you need to kill this thing. But it doesn't have a lasting impact. So I would say, 4.
All right, I got it as 4 as well. I'll let you take this one.
Gralnok the Omnivore, 4 mana, 2 green-blue legendary frog. That's a 3/3. Whenever a frog you control attacks, mill 3 cards. Whenever a permanent card is put into your graveyard from your library, exile it with a croak counter on it. You may play lands and cast spells from 1 card you own and exile with croak counters on them.
All right, real quick pause. I didn't hear a word you said because I saw Titanium Texan donated $50 to Extra Life, and I saw RV Knight donated $725 to Extra Life, which is insane. Thank you guys very, very much. That puts our total, and we still have a couple of people, like maybe $100 that haven't paid for their auctioned players from yesterday, but that puts before that $17,306 for Extra Life. Holy shit, guys. I thought we were done. Holy crap. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's huge. Okay, sorry. I will reread this card. I got a little distracted.
You want me to read it again?
No, they already heard you read it. I'll read it.
Oh, I didn't know what you were editing out, so.
No, it's fine. I'm going to leave that in. That's huge item. Which the YouTube can know. You guys, go donate to my Extra Life page. I'll put a link in the description. Do it. You may pay lands and cast them among cards. Throw counters on them. Okay, yeah.
So it's whenever a frog you control attacks, which is effectively whenever this attacks. We didn't see many other frogs in the set. So whenever this attacks, you mill 3. And permanents get exiled when you mill them. So
seems fine.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, any spells you mill are just mill.
Yeah, but you get lands and you get other things and you get creatures, which green is pretty heavy on. We're not a huge fan of green combat tricks or pump spells anyway, so, I mean, this is going to be good. It's going to whiff on some blue bounces or counters, but I feel like Simic is usually kind of creature heavy for me. I like this. If it gets more than 1 attack, you're going to be getting great value.
Yeah, Green Simic is, I guess, mill themed to some degree. I mean, we'll see there. Signpost Uncommon has some mill attached to it. So that'll help because it's, whenever you mill some other effect, this triggers. This feels really slow to me.
It does, but it's immediately going to replace itself. It's going to maybe be a really good 2-for-1. I like this at a 3-5. I think that the synergy is going to be there for this. And if you happen to bounce or fight or something and it gets 2 attacks, that's a huge card advantage. Even if you're hitting like an average of 1.5 permanents, because lands count. So you're really only whiffing on a couple of spells.
Yeah, I'm much lower on this card. I think I have it like at 2-5. Maybe a little bit is just Simic hasn't been good in a while. The mill theme did not seem that spectacularly supported from what we've seen.
I mean, I don't really care about this for the mill theme. I just care about this, like all of the cards that it mills that are permanents, I just get to play. I'm looking at this as a draw mechanic.
But it's a 4-mana 3/3, so it's probably going to die when you attack with it.
I mean, the format's not super big, and green has bumps and bounces, and we're all right.
Yeah, but the more of those you play, the worse the ability is on this card.
If it trades, and I get 1.5 average cards or permanents, which is actually low for a deck if you're including lands, then that seems good to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty unimpressed with this card. I'll be curious. Maybe the Simic deck's better than I think, but I'm kind of trying to stay away from it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the Simic
to
deck
be fair,
could be bad in general.
To be fair, once this dies, you can't play those cards.
That's true. So if it trades, you might not get it. You need a clean attack. Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, if it trades on your first attack, you get nothing.
Yeah, that is a little weird. I was thinking you would just get to play it. So yeah, if you have to have one clean attack, yeah, I'm gonna drop it. That's a very good point there. Helena and Elena. We have a 4-mana 3/2 with first strike and reach. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is their power, and that creature gains haste until end of turn. They're counters?
Yeah.
Ooh, fun. That's awesome. That card's great.
I think that card's very good. I think it had to be counters, because otherwise I think this card would be pretty bad. Because it's pretty overpriced, and you don't usually want a bigger butt on your first striker than power. But I mean, first turn you play this, you immediately get 2 +1/+1 counters. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little overpriced. It's not a ton. There was, what was it, one of the Ravnica sets, right? There was a 3/2 Reacher for 3, and I played that with some frequency.
Yeah, and the difference between 3 and 4 is pretty significant.
Yeah, and first strike. That's why I was saying it wasn't super overrate, like maybe a half a colorless mana kind of thing. Because you're adding 1 mana to a card that was, a 2, 2.5, or 2.25. It's like I said, I played it with some frequency. It was a fine thing in my 3-drop slot. This is one more with first strike.
One more, and multicolored.
True. So again, I think it's like
target. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think it's like a full mana overrate if it didn't have the rest of the text.
Yeah, possibly.
But the text is just a home run anyway.
Yeah, it does say another target creature, so you can't boost itself to then try to give bigger bonus later to other. That's not really a huge downside.
All right, so what do we like this score-wise? I think it's quite strong.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I like it at like a 3-5.
I might be a bit higher on it. I think it's like closer to a 4. I think it's gonna, if left on the board, it's gonna be really, really tough and make 2 counters a turn and maybe more if you get any counters on it from other things. It's a lot of value over a couple of turns. All right, Kayageist Hunter. We have a 3-mana planeswalker. Comes in with 3 loyalty. Creatures you control gain death touch until end of turn. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature token you control. Interesting. And then for the -2 until end of turn, if one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created instead. -6, exile all cards from graveyards and create a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying for each card exiled. Wow.
I don't know. This Planeswalker feels pretty bad. Doesn't protect itself at all. The -2 ability, the minus ability is only contingent on you having other things to support it, and so is the +1. Right? The ultimate's nice, but should be.
You have to be ahead on board. You might get some value out of being able to get some free attacks with Death Touch if you're way ahead, right?
Yes.
And you have to like plus it 3 times, and then there has to be enough things in the graveyard for the 6 to be relevant. Maybe you have to plus it 4 times to make sure it doesn't die. And then once you've done the -6, then its ability becomes even better. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those planeswalkers that'll get you some good, slow, incremental value, but I agree, it's not great on its own.
Yeah, and the fact that it's Death Touch until end of turn, not until like some of the ones we've seen where it's until your next turn, means that the ability doesn't really help protect.
Yeah, I'm a little low on this. I think this is a little not exciting for a Planeswalker that we've seen. That said, I mean, it still has some good synergy, so it's a bit of a build around, and if you have it, then great.
Yeah, it's a bit of a build around, awkward build around, because White-Black's primary theme, now there's some token making, the primary is life gain.
Well, there was a lot of zombie generation that didn't have decay. And we also saw some white token generation, which is pretty normal for white in this archetype. So I think that there is a black-white token theme, just like we saw in the previous set with Innistrad.
Maybe I'm forgetting. I don't recall that many zombie tokens, but I'm probably just forgetting it, other than some weird rare.
There was a few. There wasn't like a ton by any means, but I think there's less because the zombies don't go away, right?
For sure, yeah.
I think we're just a little spoiled with how many zombies we had in the last set.
There's only one zombie token maker outside of Mythic, or outside of Rare.
Okay. And then...
Unless there's some in a double face card.
Maybe. The one, James, welcome. Thank you guys so much for the raid. Also, Mercurio Blue, thank you for the gifted subs. I do appreciate that. You're awesome. We're in the middle of we're finishing up our Crimson Vow set review for Limited, so welcome, guys. All right. So, yeah, I like this at like a 3/5.
This feels extremely low for a Planeswalker, but I almost want to give it a 5. I really like this card.
Okay, yeah.
Probably higher than that. It's probably more like a 3. But
I have a little faith in the synergy in the set with the card, and that's kind of the only reason why I've given it a little bit of a bump.
Yeah, there's some. I'm scanning through white. Even there's not nearly as much token making. I think outside of Mythic and Rare as we think.
Interesting. Markoff Purifier, a 3-mana 2/3 with lifelink at the beginning of your end step. If you gained life this turn, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. Heyo! This card seems great.
Yep, this is exactly the kind of payoff you want for a life game.
And it's only an uncommon. This seems amazing, and it works on itself. So I think this is a 3/5.
Agreed. It's any amount of life. It's not like 3 life where it needs help, so it triggers itself. Any of your incidental 1/1 life linkers or gain 1 life effects work.
This makes the little pinger guy, that sorcery speed gain a life dude, actually playable, whereas that guy was kind of trash before. So
agreed.
3/5. Moving on. Markoff Waltzer is a 4-mana 1/3 with flying and haste in the beginning of combat on your turn. Up to 2 target creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So it's effectively a 2/3 flyer with haste, and then possibly does some more stuff.
Yeah, this card's okay. I don't think it's amazing, but you're getting probably enough value to justify its cost.
Yeah, I agree. Still a bit on the expensive side, but it's a vampire, but not in the relevant vampire colors per se. Feels like a 2/5 to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, +1/+0, especially in Boros, a lot of times isn't quite enough to get your small creatures through either.
Odric, Blood Cursed. Wasn't Odric black-white in the last time we saw him? Is that him? Is that in Dominaria?
He was mono white in Shadows. But I don't know if he's been black, if he was black-white after that.
I might be thinking a different character. There was a Dominaria Alvard. Yeah, thank you.
Arvad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wrong character. Ignore me. All right, so we have another white-red vampire. For 3 mana, you get a 3/3, which I like. It's good, some good stats. When it enters the battlefield, create X blood tokens, where X is the number of abilities from among Flying, First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Hexproof, Haste, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance found among creatures you control. All right, that's a lot. It seems sweet.
Yeah, that's a lot of words to not really do that much.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the last card we saw, Flying and Haste, right? Boom. Lifelink, boom. Like, there's a lot of actual keywords. And if you think about all of the white Disturb cards that come back as enchantments that give Flying and Lifelink and whatever and Double Strike, right? We saw those. So there is a bit more keyword synergy, I think, in this set than we've seen previously.
Yeah, I mean, the card's fine because it's a 3 mana 3/3. It doesn't trigger itself, which is pretty terrible.
Agreed. It should have one thing for it to be a rare, I think.
Yeah, and you're going to get the 3 mana 3/3 that creates 1 or 2 bloods. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's exciting. I get the theme, like this is what Odric does. It lists 400 abilities and does something related to them. That's the way Odric's been for a long time, but I don't know, pretty underwhelming.
It's underwhelming for a rare. That said, I think it's a good card. 3 mana 3/3s that do nothing, but we get that blood synergy, which we've seen some really good blood, just using them type of abilities, and I've been pretty happy with that. So I like this at like a 3.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'd have it like a 3 mana 3/3 on its own. Is it probably a 2/5, and this is a little bit better. Agreed.
Obviously, it's better if you can jam your deck full of stuff, and I think that will be easier than it has been typically. So I like giving it a nice little boost here. All right. I'll let you take this one.
Old Rutstein, 1 black green for a 1/4 legendary human peasant. When it enters the battlefield or at the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. If a land card is milled, create a treasure token. If a creature card is milled, create a 1/1 insect. If a non-creature, non-land card is milled, create a blood. So you get something for everything.
Yep. Kind of the random number generator here. It's a 1/3 for 4. Works with that graveyard synergy we've seen in Golgari / like green-black separately. This card's fine. It's going to stop the more aggressive decks. It's going to come in and give you multiple things. It's not super powerful for a rare, but it's fine.
Yeah, fine is exactly right. Like, none of the payoffs are great. It only applies to cards milled this way, so your other milled cards don't create things. Mm-hmm. 3 mana 1/4 is fine. Black-green doesn't seem as graveyard-focused as it is in the past. Seems like a little more blue-green this time. But it works with the black-green uncommon. It's be a 4/4 if you have that out.
It's true. I think this is really cool, the story flavorful-wise, like the old traveler that the traveler in the woods that's got like the stuff to sell, and he has like all these random items on him, a treasure token, a bug, whatever. It's pretty cute. I like the flavor here. But rating-wise, I'm thinking it's like a 2/5 or a 3.
Yeah, I've got it around a 2/5. If you have, that black-green uncommon and some relevant ways, particularly to get stuff using blood tokens, then maybe it's a little better.
Or some graveyard recursion or something like that maybe just wants things in the graveyard anyway. Yeah. There's also a couple cards that say, like, remove some cards from your graveyard, get a wolf. Now, I know it's in the wrong color, but there's something I'm sure in these that I'm forgetting. Olivia Crimson Bride, a 6 mana 3/4 flying haster. When Olivia Crimson Bride attacks, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains when you don't control a legendary vampire. Exile this creature. So one thing I want to say is that if you bring back a legendary creature, it will always stay, right? Until they remove it. So it's kind of cute in that, like, the ability can actually protect itself depending on like the quality of your vampires themselves. But that does feel a little bit more constructed, relevant than limited, because I don't know how many legendary vampires there are. But
yeah, I'm scanning through that right now. There's 3 multicolored ones. None in mono black. Guess none in red.
so technically, if you were to bring back one that did and then bring back some that didn't, like you'd have like double fail-safe kind of thing. So it's really cute. That said, it's still kind of scary that she's going to be a bit of a lightning rod for removal, but it's tapped and attacking. Some of the vampires fly. It's going to be really good. It has haste, so you get it right away.
It looks like there's a total of 6 legendary vampires in the set. They're all rare or mythic.
That's kind of sad.
Some of them are like white-black, or there's one that's blue-black, so that don't quite fit in the color pair. And there are no legendary creatures at all below, I think, or below rare. So it's going to be hard to get a lot of value out of Olivia, but still a good card.
Yeah,
deals 3 right. It deals 3 right away, plus whatever you're able to bring back.
Yeah,
is attacking on that first turn.
And maybe they trade with that, or maybe whatever, or maybe it just domes them for 4, and then they untap, kill this. We still got 6 damage plus or whatever. I like this at a 4. It's not quite as
agreed.
You can't really protect it real well. If you have other legendary vampires, it's going to shoot way up in value, I think, if you can protect the rest of your vampires.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely.
Roundo Stormkirk, a 1/4 for 3 mana. This is a vampire cleric legendary creature with flying. When it enters the battlefield, put 1 target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card. If a creature card with mana value 6 or greater is revealed, transform this into the Lord of the Deep. This is a flying 3/5. When it attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. If that creature is a kraken, leviathan, octopus, or serpent, create 2 of those tokens instead. Huh. I mean, yeah, a 1/4 flyer for 3, I'm playing that no matter what. And then I can just put my creatures back on top of my deck late game and just keep drawing gas. Seems good. And then I can maybe make it a bigger, scarier thing that just also makes copies of shit. I'm in.
Yeah, this card is going to be hard to flip. There are a total of, in blue and black, it looks like 6 creatures that meet that condition. A few of which are rare, I think. But yeah, you're playing the 1/4 flyer that buys back your best creature to begin with. Best creature out of your yard.
Honestly, not flipping it seems fine to me. Like, I just want to keep drawing a creature every turn. Yeah.
Well, you don't draw a creature every turn, right?
I assumed I was actually rereading that right now. I assumed it was like all the other cards that say when it enters the battlefield or attacks. No. Okay, that's a little less fun, but still quite good, I think. I'm gonna.
Yeah, the stats are fine. Getting back your best creature out of your graveyard is probably better than the random card that's on top of your deck.
Agreed.
And the times you do get to flip it, great.
Yep. Something you might want to splash in like a green-black deck or something too.
Yes, for sure. Especially with all the mana ramp and mana fixing we saw in green.
I like it at like a 3/5.
Yeah, I like it as a 3.
All right. It's a Guardian Paladin, a 4-mana 4/4. As long as you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature this turn, it gains trample and lifelink. This creature gets trample and lifelink for 3 mana. Target creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it gains trample and lifelink. Okay, well, it's at rate, has a decent ability, and there's a fair amount of counter synergy, especially with training, right? And then we also saw a few other things that just put counters on stuff. I like this card.
Yeah, I think the card's good on its face. It's only going to be great in the right deck, but yeah, the training being a major mechanic for green-white makes that a little...
Definitely. I like this at like a 3/5. I think it's close to a 4, but you need to have the synergy.
Yeah, I think I'm at a 3 where it becomes a 3/5 if you have the synergy.
Okay, it's pretty close. Yeah, I think I'm just the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 sets, I'm just assuming that there is a fair amount of synergy in everything because they've been very synergy-based sets. Like, there's no more, we're not seeing sets that are, core sets where it's just like good cards, draft A, B, C, magic, bombs, removal, whatever. Like, everything seems to have so much more synergy that for me, my default is like, there's going to be some level. And that's just been giving everything a bit of a boost to me.
Yeah, I agree with that in principle. I feel like historically the most underperforming synergy decks are always counter decks or go wide decks. I feel like they look so good and then they struggle.
All right, Skull Scab, 2 mana, 2/2 with exploit. When a creature you control exploits a non-token creature, create a 2/2 zombie. Okay. So this kind of generates more exploit. This is really, really cool and a great signpost card. So you could do it itself, but you wouldn't trigger... Yeah, so you could do it to itself if it need be, but I think you want to have this on the board, exploit something else using a different exploit creature, right, to generate the 2/2, so that way you could just get a free exploit every time. That's kind of neat.
You're only getting one free exploit in that case, because the second exploit, you're exploiting a token.
It does say non-token. Poop, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Still fine.
Yeah, I think the card's fine. I think it's a little disappointing for, like, Blue Black Exploit signpost, but probably if it said any creature, it would just be good. But
yeah, this is probably just a 3.
Yeah, we got it as a 3.
Tauren's Fist of the Angels, a 2/2 for 3 mana with training. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human soldier creature with training. Oh my goodness, I like it.
Yeah, this is a good card.
Yeah, we're going to poop out some dudes. They may or may not get bigger, but that doesn't matter. We're pooping out dudes.
Yeah, every creature you play becomes 2. It's not like a once per turn thing like we've seen on a lot of cards this set.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times the problem with making 1/1 tokens is they just don't do anything. But these are at least going to be 2/2s all the time. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I like this at like a 4. I mean, these decks tend to have a ton of creatures. They tend to have a lot of training. This is the main mechanic. And it's just going to go so stinking wide.
Yeah, somewhere between a 3/5 and a 4 on this one for me, just because it's very, very easy to kill.
Yeah, so the easy to kill part, so for me personally, my 4s are like, if left undealt with, is this going to win you a game? And
I agree with that. It's probably a 4. I tend to be a little more hesitant to do that on things that die to like every single removal spell in the format.
You also are hesitant to do that with anything that's a creature.
No, but small creatures, yes, I am very hesitant to do it with small creatures.
All right, Vile Spawn Spider. We have a 2/3 for 2 mana with reach. At the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. For 4 mana, sacrifice the spider. Create a 1/1 green insect for each creature card in your graveyard. Activate as a sorcery. I like that it has a little escape clause if you don't want to like mill yourself out on accident. It's also just an okay late game draw. You could just play it, and then next turn you just sack it, make 7 dudes, and like then get in, right?
Yeah, it's a 2-drop that's good early, good late. Because it just got good stats early, and milling yourself is what green-blue kind of wants to do. And yeah, the escape valve is great.
Yep. And it's gonna enable all of your other cards that also want to have cards in your graveyard. So I like it. This is like a 3/5 signpost card.
Yeah, that's where I've got it, 3/5.
All right, Wandering Mind, a 2/1 flyer for 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put that into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom in any order. Okay, so this is just getting you spells to enable your spell deck. It's a small evasive creature for 3 mana. Windrake cost for, slightly more difficult to pay. And we're missing a but we get a free card. It instantly replaces itself. 6 cards deep is fine. Like, we're going to hit something likely, right?
Yeah, if you figure blue-red is your spells deck and you're going to be playing like 8 to 10 spells in those decks, like a third, at least like a third of your remaining deck, if you play this on turn 3, should be spells. So you should hit stuff in top 6.
It also says non-creature, non-land, so it's going to hit all the enchantments and the auras, and which are pretty heavy in this format. So, like, there's a lot of possibilities. I like
it
this.
is, although remember, it will not hit disturb cards, even though their aura is on the backside.
No, because that's on the backside. They're creatures on the front side. So you can't get a creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be just the other enchantments, which we saw like some in pretty much every color. There was like at least a rare that, did a thing. Red had the thing that like pooped out dudes.
Yep.
There might have been like a blue draw cards kind of one. Who knows? I don't really remember. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of things for us to hit. I like this at a 3/5.
Yeah, I think it's a 3/5.
Awesome. All right, guys, we are getting really close to being done, and this one was actually a tad bit on the short side, so I think I'm just going to put colorless and lands here with the multicolors because we have way less multicolor than normal.
Yeah, there's only a couple lands and only 8 artifacts, or 9 artifacts, so...
All right, I'm going to let you take this one while I grab the next page.
Blood Serviter. This is a 3-mana 2/2 construct. When it enters the battlefield, create a blood token.
3-mana 2/2. It gives you two things. This will be okay in the vampire decks that want the the synergies to do stuff.
Yeah, 3-mana 2/2 is pretty bad, but
agreed.
Get something with it. Like it's it's playable if you need something to fill your curve.
Yep, and
or you have those blood synergies.
Yeah, with those blood synergies, I think even then it's still a 23rd playable card, but it's like, hey, this works with what my deck wants to do. I'll pay an extra mana to kind of enable some of those things. So I'm looking at a 2.
Agreed.
All right.
2.
Awesome. Boarded Window, a 3-mana artifact. Creatures attacking you get -1, -0 at the beginning of each end step. If you were dealt 4 damage or more this turn, exile this. Okay. So this seems like a sideboard card against really teeny wide boards.
Yeah, the -1, -0 for creatures, in this case only attacking you, is a much more irritating effect to deal with than it sounds. Trying to remember the enchantment that did this a few sets ago. That was a blue enchantment that was just turned into like one of the best uncommons in the set. Now, obviously, it didn't go away like this stuff.
The fact that it like dies afterwards though is pretty tough. So like they can just do like a pump spell or something and get rid of it. But again, I feel like it's definitely something you're going to want to have access to in your sideboard.
For sure.
And then whether we want to put it in the main deck, I'm not in love with that destruction clause. Thank you for the raid, guys. I appreciate you. Welcome to the tail end of our Crimson Vow set review. These will also be on YouTube if you guys would like to check those out. And make sure you guys go show Elliot Dragon some love. Awesome arena magic content creator. I don't love this card, but I think it's like sideboardy.
Yeah, I could see playing this, especially if you're a slower deck. But yeah, I think there's going to be very few decks that actively want it in their main deck, and every deck will want one of these sideboards.
So that makes it a 1/5.
Yep.
Great. Ceremonial Knife. This is a 1-mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has, whenever this creature deals combat damage, create a blood token. With only 2 equip cost, I mean, I'm probably not running this in any deck, but I'm definitely running this in my vampire deck, I think, with cards that use the blood tokens for other activated abilities. I'm not super keen to just have access to rummaging, but I am keen to enable all of my other cards.
Yeah, we saw like Short Sword from Dominaria was really good. Now, granted, that was +1/+1 and equip 1, closest thing I came to off the top of my head. I think equip 2 makes this significantly worse, but you're right, there are some blood token decks that'll want this.
So for me, this is a like 23rd playable card. You could play this if you're a little short. Blood tokens will be something good to have access to all of the time, no matter what colors you are. So it's like a 2, it's like a 1/5 or a 2. It's got that little bit of upside if you've got the vampires.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 2. You can play this, but you're not thrilled.
All right, we got the Dollhouse of Horrors, a 5-mana artifact. Pay 1, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card, except it's a 1/1, it's a 0/0 construct in addition to other types. And has this creature gets +1/+1 for each construct you control. It gains haste until end of turn. So each time you exile a creature, they get bigger, right? And you just make a construct. It's got the same abilities. That's a copy. So it's going to be triggering your ETBs. It's going to be triggering your Lord effects, but it's also a construct, and its size just goes 1/1, 2/2s, 3/3s, right?
Yeah, as long as none of your other constructs died in the meantime.
Yes. I just meant like as you amass them. Like they obviously can get chipped down, which is fine. For only 1 cost, though, I think this is actually kind of sweet.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. 1 cost is nice, but 5 mana to play this is a lot, and you need to have things in your graveyard to bring you back.
Yeah, this seems like I don't have a lot of 5-drops kind of stalemate breaker. Again, I'm not saying that this is something I'm over the moon about, but
sure,
I would likely play this in any creature-based deck, especially if they have ETBs.
If you have enough ETBs, then I think this is good. If you don't, probably not playing this card. Again, if I don't have a lot of 5-drops and I'm short playables, sure. Like it's not the end of the.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little. I'm not advocating that it's a bomb for a rare or anything, but I think it's a bit more playable than I think you're giving it credit for. That activation cost is so cheap.
It is cheap, and I think this is probably a very good card in sealed. I think it's just because the format is so much slower, and everybody has, so you can get back your stuff. That's good.
I'm going to give this a 3. I think it's going to be playable in just about any deck, as long as it's got a substantial amount of creatures. I think anytime I have like 13 plus, 14 plus, I'm going to play this. I like it late game. It's really nice.
Yeah, I think I've got it like a 2/5. I don't hate it.
Yeah, close. All right, we have a Foreboding Statue, a 3-mana 1/2 construct. Ooh, it's going to give +1/+1 to my other constructs. What's up? You could tap it, add a mana of any color, put an omen counter on the statue at the beginning of your end step if there are 3 or more omen counters on it. Untap it and then transform it. Normally that's not the case. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add 1 mana of any color for a 5/5. Whoa, that's kind of cute. So it's a 3-mana 1/3 mana dork. Okay, it's colorless, easy to cast. And then on the 3rd turn, it just turns into a 5/5. So you can tap it, put a mana in your pool, untap it, and then this is at the beginning of your pre-mana or your pre-combat main phase. So you don't actually get 2 in a turn for it, but
yeah,
still pretty sweet. And then you could dome someone with it for 5.
Yeah, I think this card's good.
Agreed.
Slow before it's good, but that's okay. It becomes very good in the value, and it's almost paying for itself by mana before you get to that value.
Yeah, this is definitely something that I think I'm playing in 100% of my decks that I'm splashing. I'm playing in any deck that, wants a little ramp, which is cute. So any green deck, I'm definitely playing this. It's a little too slow for me when it comes to like maybe Selesnya tokeny guys with training. We're not really in this area. This feels a lot like the Black Door to me. From the last set where you could discard 3 times and then it turns into like a flying demon, right?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think you're not playing this in your aggressive decks. But I think in your like anything splashing, your mid-rangey to controlling decks, you're gonna want this.
Definitely. I like this at like a 3 in the decks that want it.
Yep. That's where I've got it.
All right, moving on. We have the Honored Heirloom, a 3-mana artifact, which you can tap to add a color of any mana of any color. Exile target card from a graveyard for 2 mana. That's actually kind of cute. A sideboard for sure.
Yeah, I think I want this in my sideboard, or I'd be okay playing this if I needed mana fixing.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that is right where I have it as well. I'm going to give it a 2 just because it is a 23rd playable card. I think the graveyard thing is going to, we saw from the last round, come in handy a lot more than we expected. Maybe a little less this time around, but still quite good.
Yeah, I think I get the same thing on that.
Investigator's Journal. It's a 2-mana clue. Investigator's Journal enters the battlefield with a number of suspect counters on it equal to the greatest number of creatures a player controls, so possibly your opponents. Pay 2, remove a suspect counter on it, draw a card. Pay 2, sacrifice the journal, draw a card. So if there's 0 creatures on the board, it's a 4-mana cycle.
Yeah.
If there's 5 creatures on the board for 1 player, then you get this slow draw 5 cards, draw 6 cards.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what actually is the scenario you really want this card, because if you have 5 creatures on the board, you're probably in good shape and this is unnecessary. And if they do, this is really slow.
It is, but the scenario you want this in is the board stallies.
Yes.
Right, where it's like 4 creatures to 5 creatures. Mine are small, yours are a little big, but like, you're in this like weird spot, which, can happen, especially like in Werewolf Mirrors or whatever the case may be. More control-y decks with like board clears and things are gonna like this card, because honestly, it's only 2 mana, so like you can play it and still do something else for the turn, whether that's to progress the board, play a combat trick, whatever you need to do, or cast your removal. You need to have, I would say, 3 creatures on the board for any one person for this to be pretty good, because then you're getting 4 cards for it. It's slow and over a lot of time, but...
Yeah, I think this is good in those board stalls, but that's the only time it's good, which, like a quarter of the time.
Agreed. I mean, it's not a great card. And another thing that would make me hesitant to run this is that we saw some really, really good blue card draw in the format. I would be far more inclined to just splash blue for those.
Yeah, now this is nice. It's an artifact. It can give you some card draw in colors that don't have it. But
now, where I will want this is in my sideboard for those board stally matchups, right? I'm playing werewolves. Oh, surprise, you're also playing werewolves. And we're just kind of like boop, boop, boop. Nose booping each other over and over again. And you get a little extra card draw. I like this kind of to break up the stalemate.
Yeah, I agree. That's a perfect spot for the card.
There's also like 0 downside to it when you're like drawing it later in the game, which I do like. I'm going to give it a 2.
Yeah, I think it's a 2 with some ups, with some definite upside.
Agreed. Lantern of the Lost, a 1-mana artifact. When Lantern of the Lost enters the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard. Pay 1, you can exile Lantern of the Lost, exile all cards from all graveyards, then draw a card. I like that it replaces itself. This seems like a sideboard card to me.
Yeah, it's just a much worse relic of Progenitus. But, if that's what you need out of the sideboard, then fine.
Agreed. All right, I'm going to give it a 1 for the sideboard. We have a Wedding Invitation. This is a 2-mana artifact. When Wedding Invitation enters a battlefield, draw a card. Okay, I'm interested. It replaced itself. I like this. It's just basically got a built-in cycle. And then you can sacrifice the invitation. Target creature can't block this turn. If it's a vampire, it also... can't be blocked this turn. If it's a vampire, it also gains lifelink until end of turn. The flavor text that says RSVP at your own risk is kind of hilarious, but this last ability is not quite good enough for me to be excited. I was like, okay, there's no downside. And then I was like, oh, but there's also like no upside, so fine.
Yeah, unfortunately, the flavor text is the best part of the card.
Agreed.
Again, it does cycle, so if you're desperate for playables, play this over something that's actively bad. But
I got really excited. I thought we were going to get like another one of those eggs from Eldraine. Like, remember the one that said like it had some good synergy, right? So if like let's say that the other side of this just was like sacrifice it, make a clue token or 2. I'm like, okay, like this is going to have some synergy with the rest of the set, like the food token did. But the egg was like, play this thing, draw a card, replace itself, and then synergize with the rest of my deck. This doesn't do that, and I'm not happy with it. So it's just going to be a 1 in my book.
Yeah, just like most things, the Eldraine version of everything was overpowered.
Fair. All right, and that's done with the colorless artifact cards, guys. We're going to be moving on to the final stretch of our Crimson Vow set review, and that is going to be the lands. It's going to be pretty simple. There's only a few lands. I think there's 2 and then 1 cycle or something like that. So we've got we've got the Glade here with the Death Cap Glade enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, and it taps for either or. So I mean, these lands are always great. It's a rare cycle.
Yeah, as your standard dual lands, this ability is more annoying. The condition is more annoying constructed generally than in limited, because you're going longer and not as much is happening on turn 1 and 2.
I mean, cards that enter the battlefield tapped unless you control less are usually more annoying. These are the good ones.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, but it's still, it's a dual land. It's makes your deck better, but it's not exciting.
It's not winning you anything. It opens up some splashing opportunities, but it's at rare, so it's not like you can count on them by any means.
Yep.
And I'm typically not willing to spec on getting one of these just in case early enough, because people rare draft them, right? Unlike the common ones where people don't, and you can kind of spec on them a little later in the pack. These you kind of need to snap up pretty quick, which I haven't decided if I'm splashing yet, so they don't come in super handy, but I think these are typically a 3.
Yeah, I mean, they're a weird 3 because you're like probably a lot of times taking playable 2.5s if you need them over it.
Agreed.
But they're better than them because they are free, so it's a little weird.
Absolutely. So then we have the Dream Root Castle for Simic. The Evolving Wilds I always like better. I think that they, you can pick them up later. They're great for splashing. Now that said, it's still probably just a 3. Thins your deck.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I generally think they're worse than the dual lands because you have to choose, and they are always tapped. But you're still going to play them in every deck.
You have to choose, but it's flexible in what you get because you can't control what are in your opening hand, right? So like, what if you did draw your one of other like, so if you're like blue green and we had that the first land, the Gruul one, right? But our opening hand was green, black, and that we are missing our main color, right? So I love the flexibility in that the Evolving Wilds adapts to whatever I happen to need at the time to draw my second color of whichever source that I need. It doesn't come as the set thing.
Yeah, my concern with Evolving Wilds is when it's like the opposite scenario where you're splashing, you're blue-black splashing white, and you have 3 islands of this. It's like, which do I get? And like, I have my splash card in hand, but then I don't have one of my main colors. It's like the same thing, but in a different scenario. Yeah,
yours is so far like, I think, less likely, right? Because in that case, you have 4 lands, 3 of a color, and the idea is like that you still have X number of, like your main color has a lot more sources, right? 8-ish sources, so you're far more likely to draw them. And you can also just play out your blue sources and wait to see which one you draw is a possibility. I just think this is so much more flexible.
Yeah, I guess we agree to disagree on this, but we're going to play it anyway. It doesn't really change.
And then we've got the Orzhov, the Izzet, the Boros, and then the last non-cycle land is the Voldaren Estate, something we saw during the pre-release bit there, and that's the tap, add a colorless, tap, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a vampire spell. And then we have a 5 mana tap, create a blood token. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each vampire you control. So this is great in a 2-color vampire deck.
Yeah, it's great, exactly. But that's the only time I'm playing this card. I guess, let me rephrase that. I guess I could play it in like a 3-color deck to splash, if my splash is one of those legendary vampires.
Yeah, like we could be in the red-black vampire deck and just have Edgar, right? And then this is just like a home run. Yeah. But even in any vampire deck, I think just the way to, like in a 2-color deck, I'm fine with running 1 colorless land. Also, it's less punishing because I can pay a life to play at least the creature side of it if needed. But then just having access to infinite blood tokens to enable all of my black and red blood synergy cards, and also to just recycle all of my lands later in the game. Anytime I have extra mana or don't have a play, you know, you hold open your burn spell just in case, or your combat trick, they don't use it. Okay, dump some stuff, right? This is not sorcery speed.
Sure.
It's likely to cost 3 or 4. That's not too bad. I like it. I'm going to give it like a 2/5, you know, because it's fine in any 2-color deck, but it's got a little upside, I think, if you're in that vampire deck.
Yeah, I think I'm probably giving it a 2 because I don't see myself playing this in blue-green ever, or blue-red ever. Literally probably only playing this in black-red or if I need a vampire splash.
Fair enough. Okay. The last thing, guys, no more ratings. We're done with the ratings. We've done all of them. I just wanted to quickly show you guys the new lands that are coming in these packs. I would like your opinion on them. Leave me some comments down below, because I actually think these are way worse than the ones we saw in Crimson Vow, or I'm sorry, in Midnight Hunt. For some reason, the art looks super muted. These look like they were designed to be in color, and then they just washed them out black and white, and they look not as cool. The other ones really popped to me. What do you think, Yanks?
I agree with everything you just said. I'm going to go on record again, just like Midnight Hunt, that I hate these lands.
I actually liked the Midnight Hunt ones, but...
I don't want every land my opponent plays to look like a swamp from a distance.
Yeah.
Like they all just look black. Especially the plains. You can barely tell that that's a different color. That just looks so faded out. At least like Mountain, the red pops a little bit, but...
Yeah, the red and the blue really do pop a bit. The black and the white kind of blend. Like the white especially blends in because it's a black and white thing. So it's like, well,
yeah, exactly.
Is it black or is it white? Yeah, it's a little tough. Yeah. I don't mind them quite so much, especially on Arena, because it's super easy to tell.
For sure, they're fine. They're fine digitally. I just for paper, I like to be able to actually know what lands my opponent has untapped.
But these the art on these, and this isn't like a problem to the artist in any means. No. I think these were not designed to look like this. The other ones were just so pretty to me. I saw them. I actually got kind of excited. I saw these. I think the swamp is the only one I don't hate.
Which are the 2 swamps?
I'm just looking. I only grabbed like 4 of them. Of these 4, okay. This is the only one.
Of these ones, yeah.
Yeah. The rest just looks so bland. All right, guys, that is the end of our Crimson Vow set review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If by the time you're seeing this on YouTube, all of the other ones are already up, so make sure you guys go back and check them out. I would really appreciate your feedback. I love you guys very much, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good night, guys. Be safe. I'd like to give a special thank you to those of you who have signed up for our Patreon. I couldn't make this content without you. Also to Cool Stuff Inc. and KMC Sleeves for supporting the channel as well. Definitely check them out and use our discount codes to support the channel.